What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It is Victory Tuesday, September 24th, and Washington watched an offensive masterclass and virtuoso performance by rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels versus Cincinnati Bengals last night. Weekly, we got to get our guy Lake Lewis on the show to talk about it. How we doing this morning, Lake?
I'm good, man. That was a big win, and listen, getting back to DC, it's a buzz, man. Like the town is ready, and I haven't seen this kind of excitement even on social media all night. People were on social media, so yeah, it's an exciting time if you're a Commanders fan.
You could definitely count me in as one of the people that could not sleep last night. I was in awe. I honestly wanted to sit and listen to national media and people who was not hip just talk about my quarterback all night long. But let's get straight into it. You were there. You were at the stadium last night in Cincinnati. What did it feel like? What did the gravity of that performance feel like from the press box?
I mean, I think it's for everyone, to feel the same way. Like, when you're witnessing something special, whether you're on the field, in the press box, in the booth, or watching on television, or listening to it on the radio, you just knew that what everyone was witnessing was something special. And, Rhea, I've been saying this to you for several months now, that what my eyes have seen with Jayden Daniels, I've never seen in the burgundy and gold uniform, on that side of the ball. I mean, if you want to talk about dominant players throughout history with this team in recent memory, clearly you can talk about Trent Williams, of course. I thought Jordan Reed was on that path before, the injuries, head injuries derailed his career. And then you go back to Sean Taylor. RG3 had that 1 year, but to see a guy that has that kind of respect around the league at the quarterback position, everyone started to realize, a couple weeks ago how special this guy was. But last night, I think he put the league on notice right in front of our eyes.
It was beautiful. It got me a little emotional watching it happen. And when you're watching something different live and in the flesh, when you see it happening in front of your eyes, Washington has not punted the ball since week one. Washington has scored on every single drive it's touched the ball for 2 weeks in a row with a rookie quarterback. Tress Way has not had to come out on the field. That is insanely special. And Joe Burrow, that is an MVP candidate on an annual basis. And that was a Cincinnati Bengals team fighting for their lives in their conference last night. And it took a perfect performance from the offense to pull that one off last night. Talk to me about Cliff Kingsbury's game plan and Monday night's 38-33 victory.
I mean, I thought it was beautiful. I actually, tweeted out during the game that he's calling a hell of a game. It looked really good to be a college offense, right? And, I there's no mistaking that Cliff Kingsbury has a great offensive mind. And I've always said this, he's only asked to do what he does best now. He doesn't have to worry about defense. He doesn't have to worry about special teams. He doesn't have to be a head coach, and I think that was the problem in Arizona. And you're dealing with, different personalities. Thought they had a head case of quarterback back there. So now he's able to just do what he does best, and that's draft up plays and get guys in positions to be successful. And I think for the money, what he did last night with Terry McLaurin, who we were critical of as far as just being that guy to get open and make plays. Well, I think we realized over the first couple of weeks of the season, he's going to need some help getting him open. And that's not a knock on his game. It's just saying that, if you can find ways to craft up stuff to get him in motion, to get him spread out down the field, you'll be able to see that special player. And he did that last night. That was the best I've seen Terry used in maybe 4 years. I mean, literally, as far as what he can do well, stretch the field, make tough catches. And if you can get that production from him in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, there are not going to be too many teams that are going to stop this team, just shut them down. That's not going to happen with number 5 behind center.
I believe that. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think there's no hyperbole or exaggeration when I say The quarterback performance in combination with the offensive game plan from the OC, that was the best offensive output I've ever seen in this team. I'm 32, I'm going on 33 years old. I've never seen a game plan that effective. We scored every time we touched the football. They stopped us for a field goal one time out of 6 drives. 5 touchdowns, a field goal, 38 points on the road, and it was so big time. Jayden Daniels, 21 of 23, 91% completion percentage, most ever in a game by a rookie quarterback with at least 20 attempts, and it was not a bunch of checkdowns. It was not a bunch of gimmicky horizontal passes this week. He actually opened it up. We converted all 3 fourth downs, including the one on the final drive where he's screaming to the sideline, let's go for it. Didn't even think about it. That is the stuff legends are made of, right?
Yeah, he did that twice actually in the game where he was telling them, let's go, let's go. And something that I also said a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to see Cliff Kingsbury do more of was tempo, like have a more sped up tempo, because let's face it, that's what these rookie quarterbacks did in college. They ran spread offenses where they basically, very seldom, if ever, had a huddle, in between plays. They were right back at the line of scrimmage. And you can see when you have a supreme athlete out there like Jayden, and you can just have that tempo and get him flowing within the rhythm of the offense, you'll see some special things. And I think that they did that pretty much all last night on offense. It was quick getting up to the line, wasn't wasted energy, and he knew where he wanted to go. He just looked more precise. And it's eerily, coincidental, Rio, when you think about last week, the hit he took against the Giants. Ever since that hit, this kid's been lights out as far as his quick decision making, not taking the big hit. I think he had one time last night where he took a big hit, but he bounced up from that.
And he kind of needed to make it. He kind of needed to get to convert. Yep,
exactly. I've seen so you want those kind of plays, but there weren't too many design run plays for him last night, and that's big too because that shows that Kingsbury is going to let Jayden run within the flow of the offense as far as if he has to break a play down off schedule, but they're not going to call for him to always run, which, could make him susceptible to getting injured. So for my money, man, that was a beautiful game plan on offense yesterday. They executed it. And for all intents and purposes, even going back to the Giants game last week, they should have had 2 distinct blowouts, 2 distinct ass beatings, basically. But the defense, just like, what's going on? Like, they can't do anything right. So that's the problem right now with Washington. If they had an adequate defense, they might be putting some real heat on the Eagles to win that division this year. I truly believe that.
I know, and we're gonna get to the defensive bench. There's so much positive to pull from this game. I want to talk to the defense a little bit later, but you're definitely correct when you say that, because what this dude Jayden Daniels is doing right now, it's not only the best rookie in the league by far. He's gonna win another Rookie of the Week, and he's the big leader for Rookie of the Year right now. He looks like the best quarterback in the NFC East through 3 weeks, and there's an argument to be made that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the conference already. This is without a defense. This is with one established receiver, an old tight end, and some running backs. And that offensive line held up amazing last night versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Jayden gets his first career touchdown pass, and Cliff was in his bag for it. They ran a little tackle eligible play to Trent Scott. Man, what a time, man. Cliff was in that bag last night, man.
He was. My biggest question, Rio, is going to be, is Trent Scott giving that ball up to Jayden? I mean, it's probably a couple zeros behind that, giving that up. But, I mean, listen, when you see those type of plays, there were so many plays that they weren't gimmicky plays, but they were different, from what we've seen. It was creativity for once. And, again, you're seeing a modern offense. Let's face it, over the past several years, maybe decades, the offense has just not been able to make anything look easy. It's
Yeah.
always been, to get a first down, you had to, dance around a tree and make it rain and all that.
Mhm.
No, this offense is like in sync right now, and it's early. It's only going to get better and better. And the
Yeah.
beauty of this offense is that everyone is involved. It's not like force to Terry, force to Terry, force to Terry. Well, now because of Zach Ertz in the middle of the field, Luke McCaffrey, playing well in the middle of the field as well. And then, of course, with Eckler and Brian Robinson running the football, and then you have to account for Jayden. Now you can get Terry off, and that's what you saw last night. And I also have to give a shout out to Noah Brown, because I just think him being on the other side of the field has really opened up this offense as well, because you have that other physical receiver that can make plays underneath and has a great catch radius. And he has some a big one last night that kind of kept a drive going. So, man, I mean, what's there not to be excited about when you think about this?
Right. And Cliff opened the offense up. I know people say he's got to open the offense up. He's playing this, developing a quarterback the right way. What Eric Bieniemy did with Sam Howell last year was malpractice. He threw the whole book at him and had him dropping back 50 times a night behind a scab offensive line. What we're doing with this guy is letting it all come to him. And as the game slows down for him, they're opening the offense up more. He was able to finally find his connection with Terry McLaurin. And my favorite thing about it is that he missed them on the first time. His first deep shot to Terry, they were a little bit in sync. Maybe Terry flattened his route out a little bit. He had him for a deep ball touchdown, came back to him another drive later and converted. He didn't see Noah Brown on an early first down play. What did he do? He came back on fourth down, hits Luke McCaffrey, and takes it right inside the 5-yard line. Jayden should have 5 or 6 passing touchdowns, because we've at least seen 5 receivers get stopped in between the 3 to the 1-yard line at this point. But we're not worried about statistics, because the guy still had 2 passing touchdowns, 3 total touchdowns, because he ran one in on a read option. That is free money when we're on the goal line at this point. He had more total touchdowns than incompletions in a Monday night football game in which Washington scored on every possession of the game. And folks was on our head tops about Terry last night, because we never said Terry was bad. We never said Terry was chump or that we want him traded or anything like that. But big players show up in big moments, and Terry was absolutely that last night. Had the deep ball over Cam Taylor-Britt, who called our offense a college offense, and the game winner, the third down game clincher, where they were in cover 0, sent the blitz. Jayden stared the blitz in the face and put a perfect ball to the only place he could throw it to Terry McLaurin. What was the reaction to that third down touchdown in the fourth quarter?
Man, it was unbelievable. I mean, you got to give your flowers to Terry. I mean, he balled last night, and in fairness to you, my friend, because I did see a lot of the comments, coming at you and as well.
Mhm.
You never said that Terry was anything but a Pro Bowl receiver, and you said if he is to be a number one, an alpha number one, you no matter what happens, you got to put your fingerprint on the game. And
Facts.
he did that last night. That's
Mhm.
that's all we were saying. Like,
That's it.
if you are going to be paid to be a number one, you're going to get double teamed. That comes with the territory. I
Sure
mean, we
does.
could talk about the 2 guys on the other side of the
Oh
ball
my
in the
God.
trenches. They're getting paid to be dominant defensive tackles, and they
Mhm.
haven't shown up. So for Terry to do what he did last night, to give Jayden that confidence that, hey, I'm your guy, that's all we've been asking for. And you saw it. And again, I will say this to the fans out there. It's not as easy as just running off the line of scrimmage and finding your spots. Some guys can do that. Some guys, that's not their strength. And for Terry needed Cliff Kingsbury to be creative to get him open. And now we see that Cliff Kingsbury can do it. And now you
Mhm.
can see what Terry McLaurin can do with Jayden if he's put in positions to be open and be successful. He made some tough catches last night. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Last night, Terry looked like a number one receiver for this team. And I don't mean just a number one receiver that's going to get 1,000 yards a year. I'm talking about an impact game-changing number one. That's
Yep.
what he looked like last night. So give your flowers to him.
Exactly. He looked like what we expect and want him to look like on a regular basis. They had a beautiful moment on the sidelines after that play. Terry told Jayden, man, when I'm in one-on-one, just throw it up. Throw it every
That's
time.
what you
Every
want, though.
time.
That's what you
Mhm.
want. That's what you were saying. We were talking about Malik Neighbors, who, by the way, is still, whew.
Oh.
um, right, right. So, but that's what you were saying. Like a number one goes off on the sidelines if they're not getting the ball,
Yep.
and Terry's just a nice kid. I mean, that's what he is, man. He's just a good dude.
I like it when he
Well,
turns
but
up. I
but
like it
but
when he turns
saw
up.
that last night. He was energized. His mind was in the game the whole game, and you could just see if you get him scary,
Mhm.
this is what happens. And I think for that offense, I think for Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and everybody involved to see, they knew Terry. They know what he can do. They see it every day in practice, but to see it at that level, and I don't care what anyone says, you've never seen Terry at that level last night because you never saw that type of person getting him those type of passes. How many times have we seen Terry going deep in games? I mean, consistently. So now they've got the guy that can do that. Go back
Mhm.
to the Tampa game, first game. That would have been a 65-yarder had they connected.
Yep.
We might be talking differently. But last night, for my money, that was the most dominant, and I hope you understand what I mean by that. But that was the most dominant I've seen Terry on the big stage. That was huge.
I love that. I love when Terry turns up. I love when I see Terry cussing, emotional, and talking his shit on the sidelines because I know he's fully involved. Love that. Terry balled out last night. Luke McCaffrey's making plays. Zach Ertz is making plays. Washington's backfield continues to make plays. And I hate that one of the few points that we have to look back at last night and shake our head. My guy Austin Eckler was concussed. He
Yeah.
almost ran another kickoff back and put us in great field goal position in the second half to start. He got in the end zone again on a beautiful touchdown to the left side. Brian Robinson got in the end zone. Jayden Daniels got in the end zone with his legs. 3 rushing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. How would you grade the offense as a whole last night? I'm talking offensive line, passing game, running game, and design. I'm giving them an A plus.
It's an A+ grade. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you gave him a number grade 1 through 100, 100 being great, I mean, I've given him a 99 because nothing is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
However, that was as close to perfect as you can possibly get. The offensive line. I mean, what can you say about that line? That line looks really good. And then
Very.
when Brandon Coleman came in, he started. I mean, seriously, man, Hendrickson was just getting neutralized
Mm-hmm.
by Brandon Coleman. So now you can see that they've got some young pieces up front, and this thing is just going to keep building. It's not going to be plug and play around Jayden for years to come. No, they have the pieces in play right now. You know, you go out and maybe in the draft get yourself another receiver, maybe get yourself a guard or something. You're set, but everything is in play for them right now to be successful. Um, Again, A+ grade for me. I don't know how they can get any better than what they're doing because they're living in other opposing teams' red zone. They every drive. The only 2 drives where they haven't scored, Rio, is when they've knelt the ball to end the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's insane.
So this is
That's
crazy,
insanity.
man.
That's insanity with a rookie quarterback and with Cliff Kingsbury calling the offense and with this hodgepodge of mixed old players and new players, a whole new roster. Washington has went 2 weeks without putting Tress Way on the field. Tress Way has put in so much work for this franchise. He deserves some PTO. So seeing Tress Way only have to come out to hold the extra points, it's a beautiful sight. A+ day for the offense. And early on, depending, no matter how this season plays out, just watch Adam Peters and Josh Harris in the owner's box and on the sideline at the end of the game. Just a feeling of vindication and a slight little peek in what the vision for this team is because you're watching his young players, Brandon Coleman, Jayden Daniels, and you're watching Luke McCaffrey flash. That's exactly the vision they have
And John
painted for the.
Batiste. John
Mhm.
Batiste had a sack
Yep, John
last night.
Batiste had a sack. Johnny Newton looked better than both of the starting D tackles. So I think it's time to turn it over to the other side of the field. Jayden, virtuoso performance. But so did Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow lit us up. He picked us apart. And if we didn't force that one punt in the first half yesterday, we're not talking about a victory Tuesday right now. Washington's defense still looks like Washington's defense. We can't stop the run versus mid running backs. We can't guard receiver, superstar or mid. And it looks bad all over. Where do you want to start on the defensive side of the ball, Lee?
Man, you have to start up front. You have to, because there's no pass rush up the middle, interior to the field. They're getting some pressure on the edges. I know Cleveland Farrell didn't play yesterday. Farrell didn't play. And we just mentioned John Batiste. You know, he was 7th rounder, man, and he's out there making a play, getting a sack. You can't have that when you have two of the highest paid D tackles in football together on your team. And collectively, they have two Pro Bowls, 3 Pro Bowls between the two of them. So you're just they're not getting it done. There's no way to say it. And you know, people kept coming at me last week saying, man, you know, you're going to be upset. These guys are going to see you in the locker room and be mad. And I'm like, I'm not saying anything that anybody who watches this team is seeing. They're not getting it done. And when you get paid to get it done, you can't have one sack here or one great run stuff there. You have to do that consistently every play, because that's what you're getting paid for. And the fact that those two guys aren't doing that, it's disrupting everything behind them. Just call it like it is. I mean, you can't have Bobby Wagner racing sideline to sideline at this point in his career, and he's still doing it. So he's doing his part. Frankie Louisville's doing his part. But when you don't get a pass rush on a Joe Burrow, that kind of talent at quarterback, you're going to get shredded, and it's going to make your secondary look worse than what it really is. I think it all starts up front for Washington, and they have to figure something out, because, you know, you think of the quarterbacks they're going to be facing from here on out. It doesn't get easier. I mean, they have Kyler Murray this coming weekend, and we all know what he can do through the air and legs, and he's balling this year. So if you don't get any kind of pass rush on him, he's going to kill you. And that's a problem for this defense right now. They can't stop a cold right now.
They could not stop a cold. We got Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. coming up this weekend. Jamar Chase did the absolute nasty to our secondary, but that's what he does. It's what he does versus any corner. I expect him to get behind anybody. So Mikey Sanders still, I'm not mad at you, Rook. They put you on the outside on an
island.
I
didn't like that, by the way. I didn't. I didn't like. And you notice as the game progressed, he went back inside.
Yeah, where he should be.
And he blew up the bubble screen. I mean, that's what he does. He's disruptive in the middle of the field, middle portion. But to have him on the outside one-on-one with Jamar Chase,
that's crazy.
That should never happen. That should have never happened. I'm sure Joe will take that back. And for me, I think that they have some guys that are starting to warrant getting some playing time. I really want to see Tyler Owens out there. I truly believe that, because their safeties don't have range, and that's the problem. Their safeties, Percy and Quan, they will come up and knock your hat off.
And Chin.
And Chin. But as far as being able to locate balls in the air and run them down and track them down, that's not their strength. And I think Tyler Owens is the one guy at the safety position that could give you that. I know he's a rookie and you haven't seen a lot, but what I saw in camp, I know he can do that. I'd like for them to get him some reps in there.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we definitely lack it. We still never see safety help. Whenever someone beats us up top, the safety is always 5 steps behind, not in the picture, and coming at the last minute. But I hated seeing Mikey Sanders still put on an island with an outside receiver such as Jamar Chase. I couldn't stand that. But clearly at this point, Joe Witt is trying to make anything work with this defense, because nothing has worked through 3 weeks so far. We look like, if we're not the worst defense in the league, we're the second worst defense in this league. And it all starts, like you said, up front. John Allen and Deron Payne had 1 tackle apiece on primetime on Monday Night Football last night. Johnny Newton had 4 tackles and like 60% less snaps. Johnny Newton flashed on tape more than I've seen John Allen and Payne flash all year so far. He plays with a high motor, and he's
still not in game shape. He's still working himself. Once he gets there, You clearly can see why they drafted him. People say, why would they draft a D tackle and they have 2 Pro Bowl D tackles?
Division.
You got your answer. That's why.
Yep, and that dude looks different. John Allen and Payne. I saw Payne in the backfield a couple times. Could have got a tackle for loss for like 6 yards, missed the tackle, and let them pick up a whole first down on the play. We can't have that from guys making $23 million a year. It's not hate. It's not insulting to call out your best players need to show up in big games and in big moments. Terry McLaurin did that last night. Allen and Payne did not. Thank God the offense was perfect last night because we did nothing right on defense last night. Chase Brown and Zach Moss is as mid or low tier a running back duo we're going to see all year. Chase Brown, 9 yards a carry last night. Zach Moss, 5 yards a carry. And no, they only had 62 and 58 yards. It's only because they only ran it 19 times because Joe Burrow didn't need to run it because he was doing whatever he wanted in the pass game.
Well, you know what? In fairness to what you were saying, too, there are people right now killing Joe Burrow because Cincinnati is 0-3. They're killing him like, overrated, blah, blah. And I'm like, the guy had 370 yards. I mean, what do you want more from him? He was dropping dimes. Yep. The defense couldn't get it done. So if you're going to go attack a high-priced player, a face of a franchise because his team's losing, then that's opened up fair game. And that's what we were doing last week as far as saying we need more from Terry because we know what type of player he is.
Fact.
Well, you need that even more so on the other side of the ball because we know that 1 through 11, last week, Joe Witt said he named 5 players that he felt like were playing his style of football. He said Benji St. Juice, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Quan Martin, Percy Butler. Did you notice there was nobody up front named?
None.
So what I'm saying is they're not getting it done. And for anybody that's sensitive to that and their feelings are hurt, that's your problem. Because the problem that this team's going to have is those 2 guys right now are playing with masks on under their helmets. They're stealing money because they're not producing, and they're going to have to fix it because if you can't get that pass rush, if you can't tighten up the interior part of the defense where, okay, if you say these guys aren't pass rushers, I'll give you that. But they're run stuffers. And every time
they're not doing that
either. They're running straight up the middle of the field. So come on, man. What something has to give here.
It's either or, because at defensive tackle, there's not but so much you can do as a pass rusher. So if you're not a pass rusher, you got to be an elite defender, right? You got to be an elite run stuffer.
You got to give me something, man. Something.
They are neither right now through 3 weeks of the season. I don't want to hear new system, none of that. They are supposed to be the heart and soul, the heartbeat, the pulse of this defense. I haven't seen much of a pulse through 3 weeks. I see the mission tackle. I see John Allen huffing and puffing and jogging in the fourth quarter of a relevant football game. John Allen looks out of shape, and I want to see better because the more we see this, and as we grow closer to the November 5th trade deadline, we could be talking trade with one of those guys. And it's most likely, if it's going to happen, going to be Jonathan Allen. And as the weeks go on and then the production continues to be Casper the Friendly Ghost on Sundays, it looks like a reality that we could be sellers at the deadline.
Hey, man, let me throw something there out at you. You have this brilliant mind for this team.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Washington and you're Adam Peters, because everything that man's touched is gold. And you remember the story I told you after practice one day, I saw Adam Peters, all of us saw him, walking around the field on his phone.
Making deals.
And he was literally making the call for Noah Brown.
Yep.
Okay. So my question to you is this. John Allen, Daron Payne. If you made me choose between the 2 of them, I'm keeping Daron. That's just me.
I'm keeping him too.
If you can move John Allen and maybe, I don't know, a 3rd or a 4th for Hassan Reddick, do you make that move?
Oh, absolutely. In a heartbeat.
Now you get your pass rusher that you need.
In a heartbeat. And people are going to say, oh my God, but Hassan Reddick's going to ask for money and he's 30 years old. And then I'm going to say, Do you see what he's capable of as an edge rusher compared to what we have as edge rushers? That is a guy that's going to go out and get you 7 to 10 sacks in the remainder of this season that exists.
Yeah, and
Like,
then you just move Newton right in there where John is.
yep,
So you have Newton and Payne up front, and now you have Hassan Reddick on one side. I just
I wouldn't be mad at it. I would not be mad at it at all. And it might not even take Allen plus a fourth or anything like that. It may take Allen in like a later round pick because, but their best edge rusher is out for the season, so they kind of have to do something with Hassan Reddick at this point.
not
But
paying him.
they're not. Oh, if they're not going to pay him, then hey, throw him this way because I will take Hassan Reddick with open arms. And fans need to stop turning their nose up at elite talent.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Listen, you have to do something here because it's derailing something special. This building. I mean, this offense right now is an elite offense. I mean,
Yes.
I know it sounds crazy to say it, like people like, come on, man, like really? No, their offense is doing things that haven't been done,
Yep.
especially not Washington. So
Yep. Never
now,
seen it.
and I'll pose this out to your viewers, Rio. Anytime your quarterback on any NFL team is the best player or no worse than the second player on the field on any given Sunday, you're going to win football games.
Yep.
And Washington has that guy now. So they're going to be in every game. Offensively, they have enough to win every game they play. Offensively. But
Yep.
if your defense can't stop teams from throwing up 30 on you, throwing up 20 on you, you're going to
Some long
lose
nights.
games. It's just
Yep.
not going to be a good fit.
Yep, it's gonna be some long nights. So at this point, teams can run on us, teams can pass on us, they can go long, they can go short, they can go intermediate. Is this a Joe Witt problem? Is this a scheme problem? Is this a personnel problem? Or is it a little bit of both? And if this continues, does Dan Quinn take over the play calling at some point, or does he just ride with his guys and trust the vision because it's an evaluation year?
Well, when you listen to Joe, when he speaks to us every week, last week he said things that just made sense. I mean, it wasn't like he was reaching. He talked about the physicality and the style that he's looking for. And like I said, he only named 5 players and he felt like we're doing it. That's the problem. It's the personnel. So the personnel, and people are going to say, well, that's who they kept. They kept guys. I was upset about them not keeping KJ Henry. I know the guy saw him last night, took some pictures with him, blah, 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 because he's in Cincinnati now. But I think that when you have young guys that are hungry to prove that they belong, you keep those guys more so than veteran guys that have underachieved. That's just me. So I think right now the problem in Washington is, and it could go back to something we saw in Dallas. Dallas never operated, although that defense was fast, athletic, was causing turnovers left and right. They got ran on. You could be physical with them because they didn't have the tackles in the middle of the field. So I'm not sure if maybe they're just not used to having what they have in John and Duran, but I don't think John and Duran have warranted a whole lot of attention by their play. And, you can say they're getting double teamed. Listen, man,
That's their job.
every great player in any sport, I don't care what the position is, you're going to get double teamed. You have to find a way to get through it. They were getting double teamed for years now, because Montez and Chase stayed in the same spot every time they lined up. Jack Del Rio did not move them around. So John and Duran have been getting double teamed, maybe more so now. But I just think, again, Rio, not to beat a dead horse here, they're getting paid to be dominant players, and
Yep.
they're not even average right now. They're playing below average football. That's not good.
That's not good. Those are your leaders, y'all. Those are your leaders of your defense, and we're supposed to be hard on those guys. Y'all want to talk to me about double team? Look at what Trey Hendrickson did to them double teams last night. I watched that man split a double team and get a sack last night because that's what big game high paid players do. Don't want to hear about it. You're a defensive tackle. They all get double teamed, point blank, period. They got to play better. What is the bright spot of this defense? Is it Frankie Louvu? Is that about it for this defense right now?
No, I mean, I'm actually encouraged by the linebacker play. The other thing that I've noticed throughout the season, when they get to you, they do hit you. I mean, so they are bringing lumber, to the ball carrier, to receivers. The problem is it's after those guys have picked up 15
15,
yards.
20 yards, chunk plays.
Exactly. So, again, people are living in the second tier of Washington's defense, and that's the problem. They're just not getting any production up front. And you can't expect all that to be on Dorrance Armstrong or Fowler, who had a play yesterday himself. Anything that they're getting production wise is coming from the edges, and that's not even enough.
Nope.
So I don't know. The Jamin Davis watch, what's going on, man? You might have to start looking at different combinations and different guys. Did they miss Cleveland yesterday? I think they did.
Definitely.
So
Got a
hopefully
couple sacks, but
yeah, exactly. So hopefully he can come back and be out there Sunday in Arizona. But man, again, and I'm gonna say it until I see different. This defense won't be worth a hoot if you don't get production from your two highest paid players.
Yep. And to try to shoot this defense some bail, Joe Burrow's going to do that to a majority of the league. That is a top 3 quarterback, and he was in his peak superpower. His wide receiver room was at full strength. I kind of hated the ease that the running backs were cooking us more than the fact of Joe Burrow tattooing us all over the field, because that's what Joe do.
Yeah, you knew Joe was going to have a game. You just knew against this defense, against this lack of pass rush and secondary. You knew that, but it was still too easy. Like every time it looked like Cincinnati was just ready to go to bed. Like they put us to sleep, take us out of our misery. Oh, but we can't, because the defense is going to let us score in a minute. The defense is going to let us score in 2.5 minutes. I mean, I'm like, there was little resistance. It looked as if Washington's defense was in prevent defense from the opening snap of the game. And I'd rather you get beat trying and just lay back and let the team do it to you. I mean, you can't have that. So Joe Witt, listen, I like him as a D coordinator. I like his long-term vision. And I think we're all seeing it, Rio. The talent gap over the years in Washington that was being sold and given to fans to make you think that certain guys were who they were, it's showing you who really is and who isn't. And last night, Terry proved he is. I think we all can say he showed me last night that he could be a dominant number 1 receiver. And hopefully it's here. I'm cool saying that. But those other 2 guys, nah, man, they're just simply not getting it done. And you can't have that. You just can't have it.
Can't win with them. Cannot win with them when your 2 best players on the defense are disappearing act on Sunday afternoons, Monday nights. It doesn't matter. It's been a lot of one-tackle football games for Payne and Allen, and Jerzon Johnny Newton had 3 more tackles than both of them, playing 60% less snaps. I'm looking at the secondary. Forbes was out again. I miss Forbes at this point.
I knew you were going to say that.
Second week in a row, I miss Forbes again, because at least we're trying to see what we have in Emmanuel Forbes. Do we not teach cornerbacks to get their head around? Because it's infuriating watching Benjamin St. Juste always in the right place, but never looking for the football. Noah Igbenogany, if he turns his head around, he can make a play on the football. Do guys not get taught to turn their head around here?
You know what? I think we've realized the corners that were here under the previous regime were just expected to be tacklers. I think that's all they were. They were expected to just be tacklers and
run support
guys. But as far as playmaking ball skills, no. It's just not there. You don't see guys turn around and track the ball. You don't see guys jump routes. It's just not who they are. And Washington is really devoid of playmakers in their secondary. I mean, they have tremendous tacklers, like we just said. They have tremendous guys that are physical. You can never knock their physicality.
Nope.
But as far as you covering a number 1 receiver or a really good number 2 receiver and making plays and getting interceptions, that this secondary is not Cowboy secondary that these guys had over the past few years. Just not.
It's not at all. And Jeremy Chin did play much better yesterday. He looked like he was not lost. He
Mhm.
looked in command at safety. He was hitting guys. He was knocking passes down. He got away with a pass interference on the 2-point conversion, and I'm not mad at it because
It was
we
so
get
quick.
we get enough plays that go on the opposite end or the opposite spectrum of that. The safeties, I would say they played a better game, but at the same time, there's still no safety help over the top, and we give up too many big plays. How would you grade the defense overall last night?
Whew, a D. I mean,
And
the
that's
only reason
generous.
the only reason I'm not giving them an F or an E, depending on what your grading scale was because they were tackling. I mean, that's the one thing I can say. They were putting hats on guys, and it started to. You could see as the game went on, certain guys were cautious about where they were on the field. Make no mistake about it. But you're just there's little resistance, man. You know, they're chunk plays. It's worse now than it was last year. You know, different
Yep.
coordinators. So you know, they keep talking about communication in the back end and guys have to talk. And I don't want that. I just want them to be able to play fast, be able to play free. And it seems like maybe they have to start scaling down some things and just go with some base defenses and stick with it. Because even the rotational pattern, sometimes it seems to me like a guy will make a play and then he comes right out the game.
Out the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my thing is keep guys out there who are performing, man. And if they need to tap out because they're tired, need a break, you do that. But man, I mean, it's just something's got to give because Rio, there's something magical developing here in town, and this defense could be the derailment of that if they don't get this thing fixed.
Which could play into a perfect season for Washington because we have a special transcendent type talent at the quarterback position. So all we really need is an adequate ish defense, an average ish defense. Just don't give up 30 every Sunday, and we have a chance because this offense is going to put up some points. I'm giving the defense an F plus. They get an F
Is there
plus.
such a thing?
There is not, but I gotta create something new for this defense because they get an F, but they get a plus next to it because they did hold a couple times and they did hold enough to run clock off. They ran time off the clock. If that's the best thing you did, you're not going to get a passing grade from me, but you held the clock for the offense and you did force a punt last night. So congratulations to the defense. You forced one more punt than Cincinnati forced last night. And for that, you get a plus next to your failing grade. But Washington now moves on. We're going to the desert this week. Kyler Murray's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. He's appeared to find his mojo and his rhythm again, and he has a serious number one target. So on your way out, when fans looked at this game before last night, they said, we don't have a chance. We always suck in the desert. Kyler Murray's going to kill us. It is the Cliff Kingsbury revenge game. What are your early thoughts on week 4?
I think it's a winnable football game. I thought it was a winnable football game when the schedule came out.
Same.
And I still feel like it's a winnable football game, more so now because of what I saw, you know, the last 2 weeks on offense. I mean, this offense can move the football. Arizona definitely is playing good football. You know, they're definitely a playoff caliber football team. You know, and right now you might make an argument that they have an opportunity to win that division. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's literally shaping up so that they could be in play in their own division. But I think for Washington, if you want to keep taking these steps and you want to usher to the nation, you know, that you have arrived, these are the type of games you have to win. You just have to because, you know, these are equally similar type teams. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a really good quarterback, new coach, trying to change the culture, trying to get, you know, things going in the right direction. But for me, I think when you look at Washington overall, that loss against Tampa, although Tampa looked terrible this past Sunday, it wasn't a bad loss.
It
And it
was.
also goes to show you that even though they did not play well in that game, they were still in that football game late in the third quarter, and then wheels fell off. So if they can go out to Arizona and play their style of play on offense and just get the defense to get a stop or two here on third down, you know, get one or two stops in the fourth quarter, they can come out of Arizona with a W and be 3-1.
Yep. And then we're looking at this dynamic big arm quarterback they have in Arizona. And I'm like, we got that thing on us too. We got it on us too now. Jayden Daniels, JD5, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a problem. You know, this secondary is not ready for that smoke, but I like our chances in this one. I'm going to get into that game later in the week. Let's close this out. One final question. You're looking around the landscape of the NFC East right now. Washington is in first place. Jalen Hurts looks inaccurate as hell. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys just fell to 1-2 with a big game coming up Thursday against the New York Giants, and the Giants are the Giants. How do you feel Washington stands in this division in this evaluation year?
Listen, man, go back and watch the tape. You remember I said it.
You
I
did.
said the Eagles were going to win this division running away. And I said they're going to win the division by 2-3 games. I said, but the second team in the division, in my opinion, was Washington. And I said it. I'm sticking to it. I said I don't think the Cowboys are going to be as good as people think they were going to be. They're going to have their offense, but their defense is going to struggle without Dan Quinn and Joe Witt. And it looks just like what's happening.
Yep.
And I also said, because what my eyes saw in Jayden Daniels, I really felt like he gave Washington an opportunity to finish second in the division. And right now, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Washington is a wild card football team. Listen, if you get better play on defense, you might be a division winner. But realistically, this team currently constructed as a wild card football team, and that's okay.
Oh, my man Lake speaking them words, man. I don't want to say the P word. I don't want to talk about the playoffs yet. But when you watch a performance like that offensively, while someone's going to say it's not sustainable, we have not punted in 2 weeks. I just want to live in the moment of last night's football game. Thank you for blessing the program like you do on a weekly basis. Lake, let folks know where they can find you on our way out.
Sure. You can go on my social media, Lake Lewis Jr. That's on IG, where I'm putting a lot of videos, things of practice stuff like that. So you can check that out. And then, of course, on X and Facebook. And then you can go to sportsjourney.com for more information there. And then remember, please, please, please subscribe to my podcast, the Lake Lewis Jr. Show, which you can find on YouTube. You can watch it there. You can watch it on Sports Journey, or you can subscribe on any major podcast carrier like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You name it, it's on there.
Yes, sir. Y'all heard the man. Make sure y'all sub up my guy, Lake Lewis Jr. But wheels up to Arizona. We're going to the desert, a place that we've struggled in the past, but I don't want to talk about the past. We're living in the right now, and this is a new Washington Commanders football team. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. It's Victory Tuesday, baby. Let's